I don't know how many more times I can be surprised in my life. Each one sort of feels less and less the last, but eh, I guess the sky is truly the limit and beyond that. But anyway, to catch people up, Dr. Veloig successfully transported me to an alternate reality, in which I was arrested for public indecency when I was getting changed behind a biffa bin. Ironically, in order to blend in. However, I was bailed out by that reality's version of me. However, unlike me being, well, a male, the version of me from that reality is female, by the name of Donna Doncaster. To be honest now, the only thing I can think of is making Donna kebab jokes. No, there was a comforting time. Getting a Donna kebab on a Friday night. If not for the only reason you couldn't really be asked to do anything else, and a takeaway was pretty easy. But anyway, I'll continue where I left off. So anyway, I stated aloud that in this reality I was a woman. Donna then raised both eyebrows and gave a slight smirk as she tilted her head. She told me I had a lot of explaining to do. I asked her where I would like to start. Oddly, she replied that we'll start with a pint, and we both went back to the Black Bull pub. I just settled for the 1 pint. I didn't want to become an alcoholic again after all. However, it was pretty clear Donna was, as she had finished her 4th pint by the time I was only 2/3 into mine. We basically just started telling each other our life stories, both of them being pretty similar to each other, which really was unsurprising. There was a few key differences here and there. For one, she had no siblings, and both of her parents had died, me wishing that mine actually had died. Unlike myself, Donna had continued a pretty successful singing career, as not just a vocal impressionist, but as a singer in general. I only did the odd song here and there. I wanted to be home most of the time. With the way things have been going for me in the past couple of years, I'd had quite enough of public and media attention, while it was clear that Dawn was still reveling in it, despite us being the same age. But because of her success, she never went to work for USP, which means she never met Spit McKendry, which also means that it didn't lead to her having to make the choice, blow up half the earth. I think just me seeing that to her was probably the one thing that sort of made us sober up for a second. There were a lot of the times she did seem to just giggle throughout. I told her I knew what she was going through right here, right now. And obviously I should know better than anyone. It was an excuse. An excuse to go and have another drink. A way to try and justify it to yourself. She insisted that she didn't have a problem. I told her that the 4 empty glasses on the table that were not mine told a different story. She asked me what made me stop. If I was like her, which she highly doubted. I told her many things. Didn't all stop at once, and I doubted it would ever will. The one thing definitely was that I wouldn't be a fixed parent if I couldn't even look after myself. Donna then scowled at me, then snapped at me, saying that I thought she wasn't a good parent. This caught me a bit off guard, so I just said, whoa, I didn't say that. For one, I didn't know. All I've heard out of you is a lot of garbling and giggling for the past half hour. She told me that she had a 4-year-old son, but for now at least that's all I could get out of her, as she clearly didn't want to reveal anything about him. Keep him out of the media, that's what she said. Trying let him have a normal childhood. I then asked the question if she had a boyfriend, was she married? No. Just like me, she'd, accidentally got herself pregnant. This was during her first year of fame. I then said, I assume he's, half Scarborough as well because of the dominant gene in the DNA. She then looked at me in utter confusion. For a minute there, I thought she was just pissed, but then I realised she didn't know. She never found out what DNA she shared. I asked about the aliens or non-humans that were about and how that came around. She said that about 8 months into becoming, as I put, half human, half Scarborough, they just started showing up. The government used her as a sort of ambassador to sort of bridge a connection between them. At least, I think that's what she said. I couldn't really make much out of her by this point. She finally put her head down on the table. This information took 3 hours to get out of her. I realised then, if I had any chance of getting back to my own reality, I'd most likely be in old age by the time I was able to actually get through to this alternate version of myself. I did have a slight sigh of relief when one of the members of staff finally told us it was closing time. I looked out of the window and realised it was now pitch black. Donna was in a half awake, half asleep, so I put her arm around my shoulder in order to support her weight and guided her out of there. I could tell that the staff were actually pretty thankful. I reckon they normally probably had to do that themselves. At least that's what they did have to do with me when I heavily drunk. As soon as we got outside, the chill of the air must have woke Donna up slightly as she yelled, "Taxi!" at the top of her lungs. It was pointless her doing this. There was no taxi around anyway. The bus station interchange was just across the road. I practically had to drag her across it. I then asked her where she lived, as I checked to see which bus went into that area. She then sort of moaned and groaned a bit, saying that would she have to pay for this too, as she had bought my pint. I tried to tell her again that I didn't have any money, though unlike before I might as well have been talking to a brick wall, as she was clearly out of it. I eventually slumped her down on a seat on the bus, and had to constantly keep forcing her off me, otherwise she started to drool on my shoulder. Surely I wasn't that bad. Well, maybe I was, I don't know. A lot of it is a blur, to be honest. Don't remember a lot of it. Who knows, maybe I was even worse. After all, I do know that I could probably consume a lot more than she did. Yeah, probably I was worse. The bus ride was a good 15 minutes. Donna mostly just slept through it, and by the time we reached her stop, she seemed to have sobered up a tiny bit, at least to the point where she was able to walk on her, well, somewhat walk, though to be honest it looked more like a limp. Before I could even get her keys off her to open her front door for her, it was opened. Standing in the doorway was another half-human, half-Scarborough, around 3.5 foot tall, clutching a Winnie the Pooh, cuddly bear. Behind him stood a human teenager. Never thought I'd say that sentence ever. She looked around 17-ish, whose face conveyed exhaustion and irritation. The teenage girl, who was the babysitter, started spouting reason after reason of how irresponsible and neglectful Donna was, though I sort of shut her up by thrusting Donna upon her, seeing that she could name the price on how much her overtime was. I then realised that the 3.5 foot tall half-human, half-Scarborough was still standing at the front of the door, so I let the babysitter cater to Donna and I went to go and see him. I crouched down to his level and used my, what would you call it, over-enthusiastic kid parent voice. So I went, "Hello, you must be Donna's son. Jeremy, isn't it?" The kid nodded. "Yes, well, your mum has had a really long night, and I'm surprised you're still up anyway." He then said that he couldn't sleep, not until he knew his mother was home. I then said, "Well, now she is. Come on, how about I read you a bedtime story? I see you like Winnie the Pooh. Do you know the one about when Kanga and little Roo first move in to the 100-acre wood?" The kid said he'd heard it 1,000 times. "All right then, how about the one where Pooh gets stuck in a bee's nest?" He did say that was his favourite, so he didn't mind hearing it again. I read in the book, then I began to walk out of his room as he began to drift off to sleep. Before I could exit, though, he asked me if I was his dad. I slowly turned round and looked at him for a second, then finally said, No, but you've got a mum who loves you really dearly and thinks the world of you, and that would do anything for you. Believe me, that's more than most. You're a very lucky boy." Jeremy, however, had clearly seen past this and stated a pretty obvious and, pretty fair question. How come I look so much like him and so much like his mother? This was going to be difficult to explain, especially to a child of his age. So I decided to use an analogy that maybe a child would understand. "Do you like cornettos?" I said to him. "Yeah, why?" he said to me. "Well, you know how you have different flavours of cornettos? You have strawberry, you have mint chocolate, plain vanilla, almond. Now, they all mostly look the same on the outside, but they're all slightly different, just different flavours, different colours. Just because they look the same doesn't mean that they are. Do you understand?" Jeremy nodded and said he thought so, and then said my good nights to him again, and left his room. As I closed the door, I just began crying. I couldn't help myself. It had just reminded me of what I was missing out on, what I fully missed out on with James, and now again with Sarah. It was just all too much. I then felt someone put their hand on my shoulder. I turned to see Donna, who had clearly sobered up enough and had listened to the conversation that I'd had with Jeremy. I didn't even have to say anything, she knew. Of course she did. She's me. She knew exactly how she would feel in the exact same position. She then took me to her master bedroom, which had its own private bath, sink and toilet attached to it. She then led me into the bathroom and told me to take my shirt off. I asked her why. She said because I still had dried blood on me, and she didn't want it sticking to any of the furniture. She then paused for a minute and said, "Well?" I told her I can usually manage washing myself on my own, thank you. She said, "No, I thought I could." I said, "I've been managing on my own for many years. I think I would know if I was fucking this up by now." She said because I had dried blood round the fur around my head, and how long it had been there, it'd be a nightmare to clean it out. At least for myself, I'd be reaching round and not being able to actually see it. So she was going to wash and clean it out for me. She started running a bubble bath. She said, "Here, while I get some towels, you get in." I waited until she was out the room before taking my pants off and getting into the hot, soapy, bubbly water. It felt amazing. The first time I felt relaxed in ages. Luckily, the thick, white, soapy bubbles covered up my genitalia, so that would make things less awkward. Donna then came back with some towels, like she placed on the toilet seat. Or lid, I should say, not the toilet seat bit that you sit on anyway. I dunked my head under the water in order to wet it. Donna then squirted some shampoo onto her hands and began rubbing it into my scalp. Despite the awkwardness of it, it was quite nice actually. I hadn't had my hair washed for me since I was a little kid. It was like getting a massage. I guess I must have moaned and groaned a bit during this, as Donna made a joke, saying that "You're not having a wank under there, are you?" I obviously did the mature thing and raised both of my hands out of the water, raising my middle finger on both of them. She then pushed my head under the water and in retaliation, when I came back up, I splashed her. She then went to the bottom of the bath and splashed me back, though while she was leaning, I was able to grab her, though she lost her footing and fell in to the bath with me. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, she was fully clothed. I took a moment and awkwardly smirked and said, "Sorry, didn't mean for it to go that far." The both of us were then silent for a good while, just staring at each other's eyes. Mine now darkened and more red, and hers how mine used to look. This was weird, awkward, and probably really wrong, but we both then felt attracted to each other. No other way to say it. We then leant in for each other and kissed, which only lasted a second, and then we both realised that the other one enjoyed it, so we did it again, longer this time, and kissing quickly became snogging, which then became Donna taking her clothes off, which finally, after some time of doing other passionate things, we had sex. We even had a few jokes like seeing technically it was masturbation. We both felt awkward in that vibe, but we also couldn't deny that we also both enjoyed it. I still feel, I don't know, a bit weird and odd about it. And I can't help but accept I kind of feel a bit vain as well about it. Well, I guess I am a bit vain, or we are. Look, what happened. And I don't regret it, no. And before someone probably asks, no, I did not get her pregnant. I wasn't going to have another accident child for the third time. If I ever have any more kids, they're going to be on purpose. I woke up long before Donna the following morning. I decided to let her sleep, as no doubt she probably had a really bad hangover. So I just decided to lie there for a bit silently, obviously contemplating what had happened the night before. I then wondered to myself, could there be a cure for the Omicron virus in this reality? At least maybe a one that was at least somewhat known or reachable. As before, I was just sort of going in blindly, and look where it had gotten me. I hadn't told Donna about the Omicron virus yet. I decided to get up and get out of the bed as slowly and as carefully as I could. I put my clothes back on that I'd gotten from the charity shop. I then left the bedroom. As I did, I saw that our son Jeremy had just exited his bedroom as well. He asked if his mother was up. I told him no, she was still asleep, though I did say if it was quiet, he could go downstairs and watch TV, and I'd make him some breakfast. Needless to say, he needed absolutely no more convincing, and was straight down the stairs. I had a look in the fridge and I made him some bacon, and then I returned to the bedroom to check on Donna. The sound of me opening the door must have been enough to finally wake her up. She slowly came round, clenching her head. I brought her up a glass of water, which she immediately engulfed. I said to her, "You practically inhaled it." She awkwardly laughed for a second and then clenched her head again. She then took a second to rub her eyes, as they seemed to adjust to the light of the room, and then finally decided to sit on the bed next to her. There was an awkward pause, until she finally said, "So, last night?" All I could do was say, "Yeah." There was another awkward pause, when she finally replied, "It was nice." "Yeah. Yeah, it was," I finally replied, now that the awkward tension had gone slightly. Donna then said in a sort of questioning sort of tone, "It wasn't one-off thing, wasn't it?" I couldn't tell for a second if she was questioning me this or questioning herself. I took a second to think about it, and then I said, no. If we don't want it to be a one-off, it doesn't have to be. And if we do, it is. We're not hurting anyone. We're just two consenting adults. She then put her finger over my lips to stop me. She then said, but we're technically the same person. I then placed my hand upon her cheek. No, we're not. Extremely similar, yes. I've never, will never meet anyone more like me in my life, I guess, but no, not the same. Not anymore. Donna then asked me why. I said to her, you remind me of a younger version of me. Not that much younger. A few years ago, when I was a superstar. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, it ended. I was forced to change. Some people might even say I was forced to grow up. But you, never ended for you, did it? I'm not saying you didn't grow up at all. Your mother, who although does heavy drink, did at least have enough sense to have a babysitter look after their kid. But you're not where I'm at. And with the way things are here, I don't know if you'll ever be. She then snapped at me, saying, you think you're better than me? I raised both my hands, saying, no. No, I'm not better than you. I've done terrible things, appalling things. I told you about them all last night. I blew up half the earth. I killed a woman so she wouldn't be able to talk. I got a young woman pregnant and left her on her own for 13 years to look after a kid. No, I'm not better than you. I've just made different mistakes. And I'll still make different mistakes. But maybe the difference is that I can see them. And maybe it's because I'm trying to better myself because of them. I gave up the drinking, didn't I? She said, oh, the drinking. You never shut up about the drinking. I then forced her head to face mine. I said to her, because a lot of the time, the drinking is what started it. When I decided to join USP, I was pissed out of my mind. Believe me, every day I'm tempted to go back to it and just drink myself away. Because then I don't have to face the reality. I don't have to sober up. Because if I do, all I want to do is just kill myself. Believe me, if it wasn't for the fact that I had kids to raise, I would have committed suicide. And a lot of the time I just think they'll be better off without me. James did fine on his own without me, and will continue to. And as I say, maybe it's better if I'm not around to fuck her life up. Maybe this whole mystified thing is kill me now. But everyone out of their misery. Donna then stopped scowling at me. She questioned what the mischievous was. I then calmed down myself, took a breath, and I told her everything. She then said it couldn't be sexually transmitted, could it? I told her no, the only way to transfer it from me to her would be if we did a blood transfusion. She then asked me how long I had until, 3 months if I was lucky. Maybe even 4 if I really fought hard. Donna then cuddled up next to me and hugged me. She said, I'm sorry. I put my arm around her and said I know. She was still naked at this point, so I couldn't help myself from saying, nice tits though. She then let an oi as she pushed herself off me. She then said, go on then, since you're dying and all. You can give him another squeeze. My eyes then looked at the other side of the room, then back to her, so I said, why not? While I was in the process of squeezing her tits, she unzipped my trousers, pulled down my underwear, and said, but if you get to squeeze my tits, I get to squeeze your balls. And with that I let out an ooh, as she was squeezing my testicles as hard as she could. I said to her, I'm not dying of testicular cancer, you know. We both then decided to let go of each other. She said, "So, you've seen Jeremy?" I told her that he was watching TV downstairs, and that I'd made him breakfast. She said to me, "Oh, you can cook." I said to her, "Well, baking isn't really cooking, but I can cook." She said to me she'd never met a man who could cook before. I said to her, probably some of them probably could cook, just couldn't be asked. Jo then went in the bathroom and looked in the mirror. She then exclaimed, "I've still got cum in my fur around my mouth of last night." I then told her to come here. She looked at me puzzlingly and said yes. She then presumably thought I was leaning in for a kiss. However, I licked all of my cum out of her fur around her face. She then said, "You just swallowed your own cum." I had my eyes wide open, my mouth tight shut, going, "Yeah." "How was it?" she said. "Tastes like very salty slime." She winked at me and turned back to walk to the bathroom. On her way back, she said, "Now you know how I felt last night." I then smirked and left the room to give her some privacy. Maybe this would work. Maybe things would be okay. Maybe I could, bring James and Sarah, here. I mean, no one was trying to hunt us down or anything like that. No one had any vendettas. It was safe. And not since Dorothy had I ever found someone who truly understood me. That person just happened to be an alternate reality version of myself.